Ah, okay, good day, everyone. It's Sunday, and I will be doing my portfolio update, jumping straight into it, starting with Newmont. It's always the same order. So Newmont, obviously, that's my biggest holding. It's been acting very well, very poorly, a bit of a mix. Overall, very poorly, because look where it is compared to some other seniors. But that said, it acted very well on Friday, so up pretty much 4%, whilst others were not up as much, especially the seniors. So, it underperformed, but then right after earnings, and earnings weren't great, but it started to move up. And for me, that's a very, very strong bottom signal. When you go up on bad news, just like if you go down on really good news, oh, watch out, it's going to crash. That was a buy the rumor, sell the fact. And here it was like a sell the rumor, buy the fact, if I got that right. So Newmont looks good. Obviously, we know that gold is closed above 2,000 because of the escalations, the ground war in Israel. Let's see how that goes, to be honest. But I still think gold needs to go higher. I think the miners definitely need to go higher. I think Newmont is the biggest of the GDX, and that definitely needs to go higher. So I think we're going up. Obviously, the close is very nice. This descending, by the way, is no longer relevant. So 40 is not resistance. 41 is resistance, in my opinion. I think we're going to go up there. We have to test it. We've really double bottomed, like a higher low double bottom, in my opinion, knowing what we know about the sector, etc., and the underlying metal. So I think we go up to 41. If we can close above 41, we go up to 44. And if we start going at 44, imagine how long that takes, maybe 3, 4, 5 trading days, maybe by next week, we're around 44, give or take. And then we start to test this descending breakout, and then we can see if we can make a big move higher. But, if gold is at 2050, nearing $2,100 all-time high, new all-time historic high breakouts, then I think Newmont needs to start taking a look at itself, not Newmont, but the investors, and saying, what the hell are we doing? Flipping down here, people like me flipping. I'm done with the sells now. I'm just holding for a big move. I think something big's happening, and if I get it wrong and it goes down, so be it. Look where I'd be selling anyway. So I'm okay holding and buying more. Like I've made a strategic decision now to just hold what I've got. These little buys and sells have been cute, 5, 10, maybe 20% moves. But now I'm just, yeah, it's like a personal strategic decision. So 41, next stop 44. And if we're up at 44, let's be honest, gold's probably testing all-time highs, and therefore the miners have to catch up massively. And I feel like I would nibble here because it's just a habit of mine to do, big moves at technical areas of resistance. This would be horizontal and descending, but maybe I wouldn't even do that, and I'm just holding for a big move. But I would nibble on the way up. If it starts going at 55 and all this, then of course I will start taking small profits, just to make sure it's at a certain value. If it starts to be worth too much, because already it's my heaviest holding, if it starts being worth too much, then I have to nibble just out of risk reward, just to remove risk, basically. And it's always nice to take profit. So Newmont, those are the levels I'm looking at. I'm not even going to look at the levels on the way down because I think I'm not interested. If it goes lower, I'm just going to buy more. Obviously, the last low down here. See, now I'm looking at them. 37, just below 37. The last low down here would be a level. If it starts to flush below that or close below that, then we go to the absolute 35 level. Below that, then this March 2020 level. Below that, then it'll be this level here. Let's call it 30, big round number. But I'm not interested in going through that in detail because I'm looking at the upside, pure bias. Okay, Barrick Gold. This has outperformed Newmont. You can see on the way down, it's nowhere near as low. Didn't even gap fill for those people who always think gaps get filled. No, they don't. So in this case, it looks like it just went down to the descending. Yes, we went lower intraday, but look where we closed. We always close just above the descending. So for me, the descending acted as support on the way down. Let's see, it was a decent close, but we know how positive Friday was for the sector. And then again, Barrick was only just green. Now it did create a hammer, but still, it's not the strongest close given what the sector did. Like GDXJ was up like 2% or something more. So, to see Barrick unchanged when the sector's up 2+%, not great. But If there's follow through, Barrick has to go higher. Next resistance really is, say 17-ish. It's rough. I'm just going to say the last high, but it's really around here. I would say just 1685-ish. So if we close above 1685, we're probably going to go all the way up to here, $18. So if we can make new highs in gold, I think we're far from that actually. That's a couple of trading days away. We may even retest like the 1980s, 1990s zone in gold. But if we do start to close, to start moving up 2050, 2080, new all-time highs. Okay, I'm sorry, but Barrick has to be above 18, just squeezing, really. And if it doesn't, then just, I don't want to say buy more, but buy more, because long term, this just has to be much, much higher. Look where we are, for God's sake. Like 18 is still so cheap. You'd have to be at 20 and 30's cheap, 30's cheap. Look where we're on 2011. I know the finances of companies are different, but this is Barrick Gold. So, get on with it. Get up to 17, get up to 18, little back test in 1 or 2 days and squeeze up to 20. So those are the levels. 17, 18, 20 on the way up, on the way down. Okay, gap fill and then the last low, but I'm not interested in on the way down. It's just this week I'm not looking the levels on the way down. It's maybe a little irresponsible, but just not interested. Agnico-Eagle, this descending, not really relevant. Nice candle, up 3%. So almost as good as Newmont, and that's kind of what you want when the sector's up that much. Nice bounce off this zone, let's be honest. That's exactly what it did. So that horizontal was correct. The resistance here is correct. It's probably just a little higher. It's a rough area. 50 is a big round number, so I guess that's why I left 50. Let's close above 50. That would do it. And then we go to 53. And then, honestly, I don't know how much of a resistance 54 will be. Once we close above 53, we're probably going to go straight up to test this descending. It's not that accurate, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so close above 53 and then little intraday pause here and then keep going. And yeah, let's see if we can start getting to 60. 60 would obviously be resistance. So I'll do 60. It's a big round number rather than the high back then. So lots of horizontals on the way up. Agnico-Eagle for me is my favorite. Actually, it should be. And these three now are worth very, very similar. Like Newmont's still my heaviest holding. It's been the heaviest holding for a long time. But given how much Barrick's gone up versus Newmont, I could do gold versus Newmont charts. And also Agnico-Eagle has held on quite well whilst Newmont's descended. So these three are really like a couple $100 difference. They're pretty much the same thing. Okay, Pan American Silver. Not the best move on Friday, but still a nice hammer. We just need follow through. The thing is, there was this strong rejection because of what happened on that day? Was it the sector? The metal and the miners went down, and Pan America had a really good day. It was up like 4 or 5%, I remember, and it ended really with a really bearish candle just because of the sector, and it just sort of ruined the candles a little bit. So I think that's why we're grinding sideways. And I think we look ready. We look ready for a move back up to 16. Let's close above 16. That would signal more upside. That would clear these horizontals. It'd be a new high, and also outside of this descending line. So that would say, okay, time to test 17. If we close above 16, we test 17. And I think we would be testing 17 because we're going to go higher than 17. Then it's 1850. And by the time we're testing 1850, it'll probably take a couple of trading days. We're probably nearing this descending. And if we zoom out, look how important that one is, right? Look, 16, 17, 1850. And then we're testing this. Then there's that 20. Obviously, 20 is a big round number. It was the last high of this sort of monthly period, this whole monthly period. So we might as well, even if we close above this descending, we'll probably stop off at 20 for a little bit, little cup and handle. And then boom, we can start going to 30. Now that would probably mean gold's at 2,100, silver's at 20, a complete guess, 27, 28, nearing 30. And I think once gold's at 30, you're going to see a squeeze in everything related to silver. I know a lot of these silver mines are less silver mines now, more gold and more copper and all that. But if you've got silver in the name, just like those companies back a few years ago where they would just add crypto or AI today, anything associated with silver will probably start to squeeze. And Pan American Silver is, I think, the #1 silver company out there. So that will take part in any squeeze. Okay, Wheaton. You see, I forgot to put to cover the support zones on Pan American Silver. I'm just not interested. The support zones, actually, it's quite hard to tell. So that's probably why I left it. This ascending, I leave it in there because it's long term, but it doesn't really count anymore. Actually, it's because if we would drop here, we would drop as if this one doesn't count anymore. I'm actually going to remove it. Can't believe I did that. This one also not as relevant. We've gone through it many times. I think, although that is a zone, I think 14, and then I think the lows of 13.5. So yeah, in case you're interested. Okay, Wheaton, very strong. It's a very good, strong defensive stock. So it doesn't go down much, doesn't go up too much. I don't expect too much upside, but it's held its own, so it's done its job. Very happy to have held it during this period. I think we'll go up with Wheaton. It does take part in rallies, generally follows the index very well. So look, up 1.75%. That's decent. That's what you expect on a day like Friday, close a high of day. If we can close above 44.50, for me, that would indicate time to go. This is not a level. That's a level. Time to go, yeah, and test this level, 45.50, let's say. So if we close above 44.50, taking out the descending, we'll go to 45.50 and then probably keep rising. And let's be honest, we're doing that because gold is nearing all-time highs. So I expect a little extra squeeze catalyst in that case. So let's see. But it looks actually ready for this breakout above this descending. So that would be good. Could be a mini squeeze coming, but Wheaton doesn't move up too much, too fast. So, you know, pinch of salt on any squeeze there. Again, I keep forgetting on the way down. Yes, the horizontal 41 and lower than that. The lows 39, just below 39, 38.50-ish. Okay, First Majestic. I want to make sure I'm not missing any of them. Okay, First Majestic. Look at this. Lots of little descending lines coalescing here. Close a high of day. Not the strongest given what happened, but you know, silver's not moving up too much compared to gold, right? Gold is still outperforming silver. It shouldn't, but it's more of a war play, and that's what happens. The next resistance on First Majestic is 50.85, 86, 87, this zone here. If we close above that, and that could happen on Monday, easy, that suggests we've broken out of this huge descending. All right, it's not the most accurate descending, but if I made it more accurate, I think it would be pretty much the same thing. It's the same thing. In fact, you take it out before you reach 5.8. So if you close above 5.87, you breach the descending and the horizontal. That's a massive squeeze potential. Not only that, but if you do start to squeeze, you instantly touch a even more long-term strategic descending. And that one is accurate. The point is you've got a double, triple squeeze level around, well, let's just clear 6 point, you know what, let's just say it's 6.4. You know, you bam, you touch this, you squeeze a little back and forth intraday, and then you close above, if you just close above 5.9, it's done. You're going to go straight through 6. And then this is supposed to be big resistance. I don't think it will be. I don't think people will trade this descending like they normally do. I think they're going to be looking at 6.4. And let's be honest, silver's probably squeezing, gold's reaching all-time highs or near that. So you're going to have I really think this. I think you're going to have a massive squeeze in First Majestic. People are going to zoom out and think, why am I short this with gold hitting 2,100 or about to squeeze? So the shorts are just going to bail. You're going to have momentum chasers, high frequency, all the usual suspects just all piling in on one side, and value traders. And yeah, just a squeeze candidate. And I've seen First Majestic squeeze, right? Look at this. Back in the day, this thing has squeezed a few times, actually. Yeah, so, you know, those are the levels I'm watching. This 5.8 is the first, and we're only 30 cents away from that. And once that happens, the rest is just a cascade. Then you're hitting this 6.4, and you know how much of a percentage move? It sounds like a lot. I mean, it doesn't, but it probably is. Okay, that's not a lot. 17%. You can do that in 2 days. You can do that in one crazy day. So, you know, look at all these lines. They're just all coalescing in this area. 5.8. Again, I'm going to ignore this one. I don't think it'll count, even though it should. And then 6.4, 5.8, 6.4, nothing in between. And then you've got this huge spike potential. This one won't count, by the way. Too relevant. Then the next one really is 7. And after 7, okay, 8, maybe 8.4. We'll see. But I think there'll be something squeezing there. And let's be honest, what is silver and gold doing if it's all the way up there? We're probably squeezing to new all-time highs. Okay, first Majestic. Again, forgot to cover the drops, and I won't. First Majestic, sorry, Fortuna silver. I always get that wrong. Decent candle, not the best, but look, it's our first green candle since dropping. Did have bad earnings. Earnings always kind of bit of a damper on Fortuna silver. Never great. So but let's see, if we can climb up here. I don't know when are the next earnings on Fortuna. I forget all the dates. I'm just covering the moves that we can expect due to the underlying sector and metal rather than the earnings. Of course, earnings, if they're good, then boom, up we go. If they're bad, then maybe they don't go down as much as we think, actually, because I think a lot of bad news is priced in, and these are really at absolute lows. So kind of look forward to bad news not being taken that badly. It's like small upside, just like what happened with Newmont. That was great. But look, earnings aside, next level is 314, 320. So big level here to take out. Let's close above 322, 323, 324, 325, just to make sure. And if we can do that, then we can squeeze. I really think it would be a squeeze all the way up to 390. I don't think there's any real resistance. You could have some resistance on the GDXJ or silver that then translates into all silver stocks. But aside that, there's no real resistance on this individual chart until 390. So those levels I agree with, not going to move it. This, by the way, has long been obsolete. So those three on the way down to, in case you're wondering if there's bad news, where do we go? Well, 250 or just 255-ish. Obviously, look at this level, very clear. And it closed below that, and then it starts to go down here, which is what EXK looks like. Let's look at EXK. Horrible, worst chart. Maybe Discovery's worth, but EXK is really, thank God it rallied back and closed just back in absolute support lows here of 2.26. But horrible chart. Really weak. I'm not even sure why. Did it have bad news? I'm ignorant to that fact. If we go lower, then 1.8. Wow, that's really cheap. I mean, it's such a strong chart. Look at this. Even on the way down for all this period, it's really held on quite well. And then just last minute, it starts to become really weak. Very, very disappointing. But anyway, let's see. If the sector starts to squeeze, I don't care how bad your news is, you will partake in this move up. So where would resistance be? I'm probably make a rough resistance. I'm going to say 2.5, even though it's not 2.5. It's probably 2.55, or it could be a little lower. Yeah, between 2.5 and 2.55 is resistance on the way up. If we close above 2.5, we go to the old high, 2.63. But probably, if we're going to 2.5 and closing above 2.5, it's probably because the sector's doing great, and it'll probably encourage EXK to go all the way up to 2.8, which is where I think is the next real resistance before basically 3. So I got these little zones. I still agree with them, and that's it. You just have to climb this ladder, close above the horizontals, and keep going. And I think only the sector can encourage it at the moment, unless it has good news around the corner. But the chart is otherwise very, very puny. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put a positive spin on this one. On the way down, yeah, 1.8. Like I said, I don't, maybe 2 because of the psychological number, but I don't see real tech. Actually, there's a bit of technical support 2 from back there. So 2 and then 1.8. I think 1.8 is stronger than 2 actually. So that's EXK. All right, let's start looking at some of these stocks that I accidentally deleted. So Coeur d'Alene, that's beautiful. That's nice. It was up how much? 3.25%. That's also pretty decent. It's what you expect. CDE always takes part in rallies, and it does a very good job. So, and I love this. Look at this. Broke out of this descending. You can see how that worked. Kept going. That's a little mini squeeze. Even took out this one. So we've basically taken out those resistance levels. So that can go. And then it went back down, retraced back to prior resistance, acted as support very nicely, you know, 3 times, touched it and closed above. And then we have this nice strong hammer candle, close at high of day. What are we going to do now? We're ready to go right back up to the highs of 2.8. That's why I've got 2.8 rather than the old resistance. So these 3 lines here, absolutely correct. Once we close above 2.8, because we will, and this could happen in Monday, Tuesday. Next up, 3.3. I remember 3.3 was always resistance for a long time. I remember that on CDE. I remember it from here. All these candles, every time we touched 3.3, we never closed above it. This one time, it got excited and down we went. I really do remember 3.3. So let's close above 2.8 and let's go straight to 3.3. I don't even care about 3. I don't see 3 as resistance at all, especially if we make a colossal move to 2.8. On the way down, this horizontal 2.2, and after that 2. I could add the horizontal, but I'm not interested. I'm looking for the upside moves now. So that CDE, very nice. It's really my favorite one when everything's moving up. Let's look at Discovery, which is a bit like EXK, just really disappointing. Although I prefer these candles, you know, flushing to new lows, but then closing high off the lows, and these sort of doji's reversal kind of signals. Except Friday, you'd expect better, right? We closed above 2,000, for God's sake. What are we doing down here? I know it's a junior, and juniors are crappy, and that's why I'm really no longer trading juniors. I'm adding to a few. I do hold some down here. They're extremely weak holdings, but I still hold. I'm just waiting for a big pop, and then I'm just dumping. I'm just forever done with juniors, really. It's just unnecessary. You know, you make as much here. These hardly go down. They have a dividends, and when you have a decent account, you just don't need juniors. Juniors for me are kind of lottery tickets, you know, and and you have to follow the company. You have to subscribe to newsletters. You have to really know the details a lot more than these seniors. You know, you can trade these seniors without knowing all of the ins and outs, but the juniors, if you don't know what's going on, I mean, you can just get crushed on a surprise day. Now, Discovery, you know, where are we? We're bouncing around 40 cents. For me, every 10 cents is a level on this June at the moment. So 40, if we go down, 30 is the next level. You can kind of see it was a bit of a level. After that 20, you can see this period. After 20, there's just absolute the abyss. I mean, it's there's nothing there. So it probably is going bankrupt, but I don't think it's going bankrupt yet. The stock price looks like it is, especially knowing what gold's doing, and silver's also climbing up, although not as much as gold. I don't understand. You know, I listened to a few interviews from the CEO and it sounds promising, but I've heard a lot of promising stuff, so I don't read into that too much. I do think that even if this was to go bankrupt, which I think is not the case, it should rise a lot if gold starts to go to 2,100 and silver, you know, starts to hit 26, 27, 28, 29. I mean, this thing has to go up. So I'm holding for that, but otherwise, not a good chart at all. I do think it's better than EXK, but not a good chart at all. And this Friday candle is disappointing. I would have expected a surprise move up, you know, like up 5-6%, like shorts getting scared. But let's see, we need to close above 50. It's a big psychological number, and that will, and especially 55. Let's get back up to this low clear support level, which is basically resistance now. Look, we touched it here. Try to rally again twice, 1, 2, failed, down we go. Let's close above 50. And then by the time we do, a small move up from 50, let's say 60, depends how long it takes. You know, 62, 3, 4, 5, and we're above this descending, and that should squeeze. Let's get back to 1. This is more than a 100% move, so it probably needs good news from the individual stock, from the individual company, some announcement. But you know, the underlying metal and the sector, that otherwise is the only thing that can do it. So that's Discovery, not the best. Those are the levels I'm watching on the way up, on the way down. Now I will look at a few of the miscellaneous ones I hold. So ARMN. By the way, the juniors I don't cover anymore for the same reason I just stipulated. It's just crap, you know, and I don't hold much in them. And most people don't hold the ones I hold. There are thousands of juniors, and it's a bit like crypto coins. Most of them just need to go to zero. It's probably good for the sector. But this one is not a junior. Aris Mining, you could classify it as a junior. It's not. It used to be right down during this period, but now it has sorted its financials out, and actually it's one of the better performing stocks I've held in the last couple of months. I mean, yes, it's gone down, but it actually held sideways and even went up when others kept on going down. So, but this is very constructive stuff. For me, this is a good move. Up 5%, is that on Friday? Look at this. The levels I agree with, I put them in. I've had them for ages. I totally agree with them. I could just, I don't know why I just see this as a potential. I'll just add that. So in case, it goes lower, maybe it's a buy in the low 2.2. But even if I didn't have this line, it's just obvious 2.2 is a level. You know what? I'm just going to delete it. I don't need it. Okay, so on the way up, it's this all-important 2.6. Let's close above 2.6. We're almost there, right? I mean, where did we close? 2.53. It won't take much to close above 2.6. Once we do, we've got this descending, which is very, very nearby. So even if we're at 2.65, by 2.7, you're closing above it. Otherwise, 2.8. So for me, 2.6, 2.8, you just happen to have this descending, which is very important, which is in between those two trend lines. So for me, 2.8. Let's just get to 2.8, close above that, and then we're done. Then you can just see how beautiful this round bottom is just going to, we've totally closed outside the descending. We've cleared all levels. We go straight past 3. Forget this gap fill. No one cares. 3.10. Once we close above 3.11, then it's just these little horizontals on the way. And then you start to zoom out, and then you can start looking at big moves like 4.8. I might actually add that in because it's just too obvious. 4.8 or even 5. It'll find resistance just before 5. So I'll put 4.8 just to trim a little bit. I mean, that's where I'm going to start trimming now. I'm holding out. I'll probably trim out of a habit just on the way up here, but I don't want to trim like, oh, we're getting to resistance on the descending, or even 2.8. It should go down a little bit. Yeah, it'll go down for 1 or 2 days and then it'll squeeze. Like, I'm no longer interested in these tiny flips just because of what's going on geopolitically, not even just like on the macro side. Gold is ready to squeeze above 2,100. And even if it doesn't, it goes down because of some surprise peace treaty. Like, it'll happen 7 weeks later, So I prefer to add on drops rather than sell on mini pops. I mean, if there's a big pop, like I said, I'll trim a little bit just to keep the value of the stock a little contained. I don't want anything worth more than 5% of my portfolio or whatever, or even I like to keep it between like 2 and 4 max 4. But I think I'd sell for those reasons, and obviously it'll be on trend lines. So it's more to keep everything in disciplined value terms rather than me just selling like that. So Aris Mining, which used to be Columbia Mining, very strong support. It's been finding higher lows on the drops. Like I said, it's been outperforming other stocks. And for me, it's this 2.6 the first one, then 2.8, then 3, then blah, blah, blah. So I think it's, now is as good a time as any other to start doing that. Right, let's look at Mag Silver. One that's had, the last earnings it had was good, and it's just drifted sideways down because of the sector. You'd expect it to be higher though because of what the metal's done, but it's not the case. I think this is a buy. Everything's a buy, but this one, I think a little bit more than others. You've got this descending. It's just time to move up. Nothing to say. Just time to close above 11.6. Clear these last sort of horizontal highs. And of course, the all-important descending. A lot of them have their descending resistances. And then we can start to squeeze to the next descending. 11.6 after that, straight past 12, and then on to 13.4. I think that's really your next strong resistance after we take out this mini resistance here. 13.4 is probably your first real resistance. And then up we go. So on the way down, we've got these horizontals. I don't think it'll go lower at all, unless the whole underlying metal space goes lower. So Mag, very muted stuff, but it really should go higher. I think if you have discipline, if you have patience, you should just find this grinding higher through the next couple of weeks. GLGDF, Gogold. Did I add to this? I think I did. Because this one's really worth not that much. KNT, GLGDF, and Metalla royalty. I think those 3 are the smallest ones that I added to because I don't classify them as juniors. I'm not adding to juniors. I haven't added to juniors in a long, long time. But these 3 that I just named are the smallest new entries to my holdings that they just were undervalued. Anyway, Gogold, I expect to pop. I expect to go all the way up to a 1.15. I think I did add to this. I must have, but in around this range. Yeah, so let's see if we can close above this last high, 1. Let's close above 1, right? We're not there yet. That'll be good. It's always good to close above 1. And then we'll probably start closing above the descending the next day. I don't even know if the descending will really be resistance because it's just too close by to 1. So yeah, 1, then 115. And then this, I think 130 will be big resistance because it was resistance some time ago. It never got above that for months. And also the descending line, which spans from all the way back here, also coalesces to about 1.3. You know, think about how long it'll take. A couple of trading days, 1.3. So 1.3 will be big resistance. I might trim a tiny bit there. Just because I expect it to be such strong resistance. Otherwise, up it goes. And I intend to liquidate this stock because this stock is not one I chose to hold long term. It was just one I chose late because I thought the sector would break out and it was just underperforming. So I bought it and then it's just grinded lower because obviously the whole sector went down with the metals, right? Gold went down to 1800. And this never really went down as much as the others. So I was happy to put my money in this rather than any of the others, which went down more. But for the same reasons on the way up, I'm just, I'll be in the black. Like I might be in the black already, or at least by 115. And then once I squeeze and I'm in the money, I'll just close the position and then just focus on the ones that I've wanted to hold the whole time for multi-year holds, like these seniors and some of these silvers. Although some of the silvers now I'm starting to reduce my position a bit because just you can never tell. I'm a lot more certain holding Newmont, Barrick, Agnico, and Pan America, Wheaton. But when it comes to, okay, first Majestic I trust also, but Fortuna, EXK, I mean, look how bad EXK is, Discovery, even CDE, it's not got the best balance sheet. Just instead of having a certain amount, I'm just gonna cut a third out. Like, okay, the maximum I can put in that stock has now been reduced by a third. So just want to be a bit more cautious on some of these junior, and these are medium tiers. These are not even juniors. The juniors I've completely eliminated from the stocks that I'm going to add to. They're just, I'm selling those, I'm not buying. So just favoring more the seniors. So for that reason, Gogold, which was a late entry, once I'm in the money and it's, run its course, let's say, I'll just dump the whole thing and then just focus on the more senior ones. Okay, let's look at KNT, K92, which is a good stock, right? It's a good stock. I mean, it did really well. Look at this, beautiful. I don't follow it, so don't ask me what's been going on lately, but it went down a lot, which is why this, like Gogold, I added to it. Sorry, I added to it late because I thought the sector would break out and this would just rally late. But then, like I said, the sector fell down and then we then went down to 1800. But like I said, also for Gogold, it didn't go down that much. There was this little period where it just flushed here and then the next day it rose. And then, in my opinion, we put a bit of a bottom. I added to it recently, I think around where it is. I think it actually went lower after I bought, and now it's back to where I bought it. I'm pretty sure I bought in the 5.4s. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't follow it. I just feel like it, will rise with the sector. So $6 is resistance, big round number. It also is the last high that it got to, didn't close above 6. So let's see if the sector keeps rallying. If it can close above 6, then very simple stuff. 6.6 is the next resistance, maybe 6.4. Little intraday stop off there, but 6.4 and then 7, and by the time we're at 7 we're testing this descending and we can easily squeeze above 8. Obviously that won't happen straight away, but that's what I see happening. But we probably need the whole sector to rally, gold to new all-time highs for that. On the way down, then I've got these rough horizontals. To be honest, the last low is probably the real low, the real support level. So call that 4.8 rather than 5, although 5 should also be support. So 5, 4.8, and then, in my opinion, 4.5. And also this level here, what's that? 4.3, whatever. I don't think we're going to go down that low. So yeah, that's the support. That's the resistance on the way up. Let's see what happens. Finally, the last stock I'm going to cover is Metalla Royalty, which I know a lot of people like this one. I don't know much about it. I just know that it's supposed to be good and that it's massively crushed. And this is just such beautiful chart pattern. First of all, it should be way higher. What the hell is it doing? This is horrible. But this is, I don't even care if the metals fall down and flush $50. This is support. This is the curl. This is a daily curl being formed. This is waiting for a squeeze. It absolutely will go up. It will go to 3.4. It'll probably fail up 3.37. I'd probably sell a little bit at 3.37 because I bought this. I bought this in the 2.8 range, 2.8, 2.9. It's where I started my position. So I'm not, in any hurry to buy more where it is, although I really think it's due for a pop. This should go up. I mean, good company as far as I know. Technically looks very good down where it is. Obviously the sector should be rallying a lot more, the underlying metal. It's a streaming company, so for me this is due for a massive pop, and this is very clear resistance, 3.4. So this might be one that I sell at 3, even though it should be way higher, and I'm done with the flipping. It's just such an obvious sell zone. And since I bought it all the way down here, I may just sell like a quarter of what I bought down here and here. So 3.4. After that, yes, we have a descending that will act as resistance. It might end up being, it depends what it does at 3.4, but descending as resistance. Otherwise, if we keep going, then 4. Big round number, prior support, therefore it will act as resistance. So aside the descending, which is always working as a resistance, we've got those two horizontals, 3.4 and 4. On the way down, up at 2.5. Yeah, kind of. 2 is a lot clearer as support, but it's just ridiculous if it gets down there. There's probably something really wrong with it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like I said in one of my old videos, Peter Schiff wanted it at 4 and was complaining he didn't get filled, and here we are at 2.9. So if he liked it at 4, I love it at under 3. So those are the levels. Those are the companies I'm going to cover. I don't cover these sort of junior, what I call more tacky, even though some of them are better than others. But I hope that was of use. Oh no, one of my subscribers wanted me to cover EGO, so I will. Sorry. Eldorado. Yeah, look at this. I'm on the daily. I don't know what new, this has to be news. This is a bit too weird. But look at this Friday. This had to be news. The day after, maybe this was some selling anticipation of bad earnings. I don't know, actually. Or it could have been just some weird day trading. But you can see how there's a lot of sideways consolidation going on here. This was a bit weird. Obviously 10 was a level, is a level. But look what happened here on Friday. It was up like 10%, wasn't it? And then it went down a lot, and then it rallied towards the end of day. Wait, let me take up the 3-minute chart. Yeah, this is what happened. Obviously, this is probably good earnings or something. Rallies, and I remember it flushed the earnings as gold started to trickle lower. And then we had this end of day pop in gold because of the Israeli conflict. So that helped it resume. But you can see this is the resistance I had. I had $11 as resistance, and I think that was correct, wasn't it? Because we hit 11. Okay, you go to 11.05, but whatever. It just went down. So 11 was resistance, remains resistance. 10 is support. Maybe you could say even a bit lower than 10, because we have these candles. Look how far they go. I don't know. Maybe you could. Oh, sorry, that is 10. That was 10.20. Yeah, let's say 10 then. 10 is support. 11 is resistance. Very simple. And well done. It did very well. And if it can continue, or let's look higher. If it can continue, as I always say, the descending works as resistance, and it's a good one to trade. So if you start to close above 11, or just starts to keep squeezing on Monday, 11.5 should be resistance, and then I think you'll find 12 also, by the way, because the old high. But between 11.5 and 12, you should find some resistance. Put it that way, because there are 3 levels. There's 11 itself, which is mini resistance. There's 12 also, which should be stronger resistance, because that's the old high, and there's nothing higher than that for months. And then there's this descending, which it also should, it only touches 2 times, not really 3. So, if you're still holding, I think at 11.5, you can start to consider trimming, like trim 5% your position here, trim another 5% there, trim another 5% there, and then see what happens. Maybe later on in the day, if it looks like it's going to collapse, or the sector or the metals being rejected at a certain level, you could sell even more, if you're up here. But just sell a tiny bit every time it gets up to a resistance level. That's what I would say, because Eldorado, but if you zoom out, it's actually could really squeeze. This could be a real squeezer. And then at 14, maybe even a bit higher. And then after it clears 14.5, oof, it's like no man's land until above 18. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of companies where it's just been down, crushed for a long time, and then you think, oh, it's going to go all the way up here, and it's just not going to happen. Like that's a 10x, isn't it? I would just be disciplined. Every little resistance, I would sell something small, so that in case it just keeps going, it's not going to affect how much money you make. Even if you sell 5%, like 5% there, 5% there, 5% there. Okay, that's 15%. Let's say another 5%, 20%. You still hold 80% of your position, and it's still squeezing, and you made money during this move up already. And then it keeps going, and then you can sell 5% to infinity. You can always sell 50% every single day. You always have something left, but you'd be unhappy to have done that if it keeps squeezing. You would have sold too much. But I would start trimming a little bit on these resistance zones, but then I would, obviously knowing what gold's doing, I would definitely leave most of it, because you could see Eldorado squeeze and make up a lot of ground. It looks very good. Well done holding that. All right, that's it. I hope that was of value. Let's see what happens next week. It's really exciting every day. We just need these miners to start catching up, and I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to have one of those 5 to 10% up days, and maybe that's what it takes for people to just say, okay, the sector's woken up, let's pour into it, and then we get the squeezes that we think we should have deserved a long time ago. Anyway, enjoy the weekend.